last time anyone saw Emily Carter, she was leaving Pinewood Market, a small grocery store on the edge of Ashford, Pennsylvania. It was a quiet, chilly October evening, one of those nights when the sky turns an inky black too soon and the streets feel just a little too empty. At 7:42 p.m., the store's security camera caught Emily pushing a small cart out the sliding doors, her auburn hair tied up in a loose bun. She had on a green hoodie, jeans, and a canvas tote slung over her shoulder. The footage showed her unlocking her car, loading the groceries into the trunk, and checking her phone. A few seconds later, she looked up suddenly, as if startled by something. But nothing. The footage ended without any sign of struggle, no masked figure creeping behind her, no sudden movement. She had simply vanished between one frame and the next. When Emily didn't show up for work the next morning at the local veterinary clinic, her boss, Dr. Patel, was immediately concerned. Emily was reliable. She loved her job and never missed a shift without calling. By noon, calls and texts to her phone had gone unanswered. Lisa Moore, Emily's best friend, was the first to raise the alarm. After getting a frantic call from Dr. Patel, she drove straight to Emily's apartment, a cozy second-floor unit in a quiet complex near the woods. The sight of Emily's car in the parking lot made Lisa's stomach drop. She sprinted to the front door and knocked. No answer. She tried calling again. Straight to voicemail. Lisa's hand shook as she used the spare key Emily had given her. The apartment was silent. The living room was tidy, a half-empty mug of chamomile tea sitting on the coffee table. Emily's phone charger was still plugged in by the couch. She had never made it home. Lisa called 911, her voice barely steady enough to give Emily's information. By nightfall, Ashford police had launched a search. No one knew it yet, but Emily Carter was just the latest name on a growing list of missing women. And time was running out. Detective Ryan Calloway had been with the Ashford Police Department for 15 years, but something about Emily Carter's disappearance unsettled him. Missing person cases in small towns like this were rare, and when they did happen, there was usually an explanation. Someone ran off with a new lover, a rebellious teen hitchhiked out of town, a misunderstanding left a worried family panicked for no reason. But this wasn't one of those cases. By the time Calloway arrived at Emily's apartment, patrol officers had already canvassed the area. The door had been locked. There was no sign of forced entry. Her car sat untouched in the parking lot, just as her best friend Lisa had found it. The last known footage of Emily was at the Pinewood Market parking lot, time-stamped 7:42 p.m. After that, she had simply ceased to exist. Her phone was off, her credit cards had no activity, and her social media accounts remained untouched. Calloway took a slow breath, already feeling the weight of the case pressing down on him. She wouldn't just leave, Lisa said, arms crossed, her voice thick with worry. She loved her job. She had plans with me this weekend. She was happy. Something happened to her. He believed her. The first 48 hours in a missing persons case were critical. Calloway ordered officers to check traffic cameras around Pinewood Market, looking for anything suspicious. A search team was dispatched to comb through the wooded areas near Emily's apartment complex. If she had been taken, her abductor might have left behind clues. Then, something strange surfaced. A pattern. As Calloway dug through missing persons reports from the past 2 years, he found 3 other women, young, brunette, last seen at night and never found. Each case had gone cold. The town had chalked them up to tragic disappearances, women who had perhaps wanted to start over. But what if they hadn't left willingly? What if Emily wasn't the first? And what if she wouldn't be the last? Time was slipping away. Calloway gritted his teeth and made a silent vow he was going to find Emily Carter, one way or another. A week had passed since Emily Carter's disappearance, and the town of Ashford was on edge. Flyers with her face were taped to every street lamp, every coffee shop window. News outlets had picked up the story, speculating about what might have happened to the young woman who had seemingly vanished into thin air. Detective Calloway barely slept. His desk was buried under files, maps, and photographs, each one screaming the same frustrating question: where was Emily? Then, on the 7th day, a breakthrough. A local hiker named Mark Evans was trekking through Ashford Woods, a dense stretch of forest just a few miles from Emily's apartment. It was a place known for its towering trees and winding trails. But on this particular morning, Mark found something that didn't belong. A phone. It was half buried in the dirt, the screen cracked but still faintly glowing under the weak autumn sunlight. Mark picked it up and wiped it off, his stomach twisting as he saw the lock screen, a photo of Emily Carter. He ran back to town and turned it in to the police. Calloway and his team moved fast. The phone was confirmed to be Emily's. But it wasn't just the discovery of the phone that sent chills down the detective's spine, it was what was on it. The screen showed a partially typed, unsent text message. "He's here. Help me." The timestamp was 8:15 p.m. on the night Emily disappeared, just minutes after she was last seen in the grocery store parking lot. Who was he? More officers were deployed into the woods, combing the area for any other clues. Hours passed with little luck, until one officer, stepping over a fallen log, called out. They found zip ties and a strip of duct tape, both partially hidden beneath a pile of leaves. The realization hit Calloway like a punch to the gut. Emily had been there. She had been tied up, and then she had been taken again. But by who? And more importantly, was she still alive? Time was slipping away, and now for the first time Calloway had undeniable proof that someone had taken Emily Carter. Detective Ryan Calloway sat at his desk, staring at the grainy security footage playing on his laptop. He had watched it a dozen times, each replay tightening the knot in his stomach. The footage was from a traffic camera near Pinewood Market, captured on the night Emily Carter disappeared. At first, it seemed unremarkable. Just another quiet night in Ashford. But then, at 7:50 p.m., a dark-colored SUV appeared. It lingered at the intersection, headlights off, before making a slow turn toward the grocery store parking lot. It wasn't the first time this vehicle had shown up in missing persons cases. Calloway compared the footage to similar reports from two other missing women. The same SUV had been seen near their last known locations. This was it. This was their first real lead. With the vehicle's make and model identified, a black Chevrolet Tahoe, an older model, Calloway pushed his team to scan through local registrations. The search came back with too many matches. They needed something more. Then, a second breakthrough. Calloway's assistant, Officer Jenna Ruiz, was reviewing security footage from businesses near Pinewood Market when she spotted something chilling. A separate camera, located outside a gas station 2 blocks away, caught a brief glimpse of the SUV just 15 minutes before Emily disappeared. The driver got out to pump gas. The footage wasn't perfect, but one detail stood out. A tattoo on the man's wrist, partially visible beneath his rolled-up sleeve. A snake coiled around a dagger. Lisa, Emily's best friend, was called in to view the image. Her face drained of color. "I know that tattoo," she whispered. It belonged to Tyler Briggs. Briggs was a former co-worker of Emily's, fired from his job at a local auto shop a year ago after making inappropriate advances toward her. Emily had told Lisa he creeped her out, but she never thought much of it beyond that. Now, everything clicked into place. Briggs had a history, restraining orders, assault charges, a temper. And now his vehicle had been caught near the scene of multiple disappearances. Calloway's gut told him they had their guy. But there was one problem. Tyler Briggs was nowhere to be found. Detective Ryan Calloway gripped the steering wheel as his unmarked car sped down the winding back roads of Ashford. Tyler Briggs had just become the prime suspect in Emily Carter's disappearance, but the problem was, no one had seen him in days. Calloway's mind raced as he recalled everything they had on Briggs: a history of violence, a known fixation on Emily, his SUV caught near multiple disappearances, the tattoo Lisa had recognized. It all pointed in one direction. But was Emily still alive? Then came the tip. A local bartender named Jason Miller, working the late shift at a dive bar on the outskirts of town, had called in after seeing Briggs just 2 hours ago. He had been sitting alone in a booth, drinking heavily, eyes darting to the door every few minutes. Something about the way he kept checking his phone made Jason uneasy. The second Calloway got the call, he was out the door. By the time he pulled into the gravel parking lot of Rusty's Tavern, his pulse was hammering. The neon beer signs flickered in the window, and through the glass, Calloway spotted Briggs sitting at the far end of the bar, nursing a whiskey. His presence was too calm. Calloway stepped inside, scanning the room. A few regulars looked up, but quickly went back to their drinks. The air smelled of cigarette smoke and spilled beer. Briggs hadn't noticed him yet. Calloway moved in. "Tyler Briggs." His voice was steady but loud enough to turn heads. Briggs stiffened, his grip tightening on his glass. Slowly he turned, his bloodshot eyes meeting Calloway's. A flicker of recognition, then something else. Panic. Before Calloway could reach for his cuffs, Briggs was running. He bolted toward the back exit, shoving past bar stools and knocking over a table. Calloway was right behind him, adrenaline surging as he chased Briggs into the cold night. Briggs sprinted toward the woods behind the bar. Dense, dark, a perfect place to disappear. But Calloway had no intention of losing him. Not this time. As the two figures vanished into the trees, only one thought consumed Calloway's mind. If Briggs knew where Emily was, he was damn sure going to make him talk. Detective Ryan Calloway ran through the woods, his breath coming in sharp bursts as he pursued Tyler Briggs. The man was fast, dodging between trees, his boots crunching against dead leaves. But Calloway was relentless. He wasn't letting him get away. The beams of his flashlight cut through the darkness, catching glimpses of Briggs' silhouette as he stumbled through the thick underbrush. The farther they ran, the more Calloway's gut twisted. Briggs wasn't just running. He was leading him somewhere. In the final snap of his muscles, Calloway took as he retreated. Then Briggs made a fatal mistake. His foot caught on a hidden root and he crashed forward with a yell. Before he could scramble up, Calloway was on him, tackling him to the ground. Gravel and dirt bit into Briggs's face as Calloway wrenched his arms behind his back. "Where is she?" Calloway growled, pressing his knee into Briggs's back. Briggs coughed, struggling, but Calloway twisted his arm tighter. "Where is Emily?" A sharp, wheezing laugh escaped Briggs' lips. "You're too late." Calloway's blood ran cold. Before Briggs could say another word, the distant sound of muffled screaming sent a jolt of adrenaline through Calloway's veins. He turned toward the noise, deeper into the forest. Leaving Briggs cuffed to a tree, he sprinted toward the sound. The cries grew louder, desperate. Then, through the thick trees, Calloway spotted it. A run-down hunting cabin, its windows boarded up. He rushed to the door, slamming his shoulder against it. It took 2 hits before the rotting wood gave way. Inside, the air was thick with mildew and dust, and there, in the corner, Emily. She was bound, her wrists raw from struggling, her face streaked with tears. The moment she saw him, relief washed over her eyes. "Emily," Calloway breathed, rushing to untie her. "You're safe now." As soon as the ropes were off, she collapsed into his arms, sobbing. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Backup was arriving. Tyler Briggs had been caught, and Emily Carter was finally going home. But as Calloway held her, one chilling thought remained. Briggs wasn't working alone, and someone else was still out there.